This episode is brought to you by B Lane Printed Apparel. Hey there, small business owners and nonprofits. Are you looking for great apparel that will set your organization apart from everyone else? This is your chance to elevate your style with B Lane Printed Apparel, where passion meets quality. Picture this: personalized, head-turning apparel that tells your story. At B Lane, they go beyond just printing. They bring your brand to life. From eye-catching hats to shirts that redefine comfort, they've got it all covered. Their secret sauce? It's not just printing, it's dedication to quality. Quality materials, quality water-based inks, quality service, because you deserve nothing but the best. Whether you need one item or 1,000 items, they're your go-to provider for full-service decorated apparel. So why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary? Visit belane.com now and let your imagination run wild. That's BEALANE.com. Don't just wear apparel, wear quality. B-Lane, where every print tells a story. Your journey begins at belane.com.
This is the Uncommon Success Podcast, where we explore topics about success and dive into the stories of leaders who found success along the way.
And success isn't easy. It takes some grit, a little bit of luck, and a whole lot of patience.
We know that success comes in many shapes and sizes, and we're exploring them all.
So get ready for a journey through the remarkable stories of individuals who face challenges head on and learn many lessons along the way.
From business moguls to artists, educators to industry leaders, entrepreneurs to athletes. If it's an uncommon success story, we'll cover it.
The Uncommon Success Podcast. Real stories, real people, real success. Welcome to episode 1 of the Uncommon Success Podcast. We are so excited you have taken the time to either watch or listen to this podcast.
My name is Andy Coates, and I'm joined here with my always smiling, always happy, full of joy, never a dull moment co-host, Miss Brinly Foxall. And so we're excited about this podcast kicking off. Here we are, new year, 2024. New year, new podcast. We're
2024. Getting more. Yeah. I don't know. It goes together somehow.
Sure. We're doing it. We're doing this.
It's going to be great.
We've been planning for this for a long time. A lot of hard work and preparation for this. And, man, we're excited. And here it is.
Yep. Number 1 episode. So best one. Best one we've done so far.
Yeah, that's
number
right.
1. So why don't you tell them what we have in store for today?
Yeah, for sure. So this is going to be a little bit different of a format here on the Uncommon Success Podcast. Episode 1, it's going to be different than our typical format. This will be more geared toward just me and you. Typically, we'll have a guest on the episode, but for today, it's just me and you. And for this format, we're going to begin with taking some time in our first section together here today of just getting to know the host. So that's me and you.
Yep.
So while we know each other, in fact, you and I go way back now, 17, yes. 18 years back.
5 years, because we're really young.
Oh, that's right.
We don't have
that's right.
We don't have 17.
We don't have 17 years to have gone back and still be adults. Yeah. But some time ago, we spent many moon ago, we spent some time traveling, doing camps together, and a whole summer together with a team. And you served on the team that I was directing that summer.
Puzzled, which is just sets the stage for this episode. No.
Yes.
We're going to unpuzzle.
That's right. Maybe if you came into this puzzled, you'll walk away with those pieces together. But we traveled together, so we got to know each other a little bit, but a lot of life has happened.
Yes.
Just between then and now. And then
a lot.
And just several months back, we reconnected, and you joining in on the podcast for us and agreed to be a co-host with us. And that's exciting, but not only do we want to get to know each other a little bit here in this, but also for our audience, for our community to get to know us as well, as before we dive into the next year plus with all of our
we're going to be best friends
audience. That we want them to know us. That's right. That they feel like they know a little bit about who is hosting this thing, because in the future, our episodes will be heavily driven toward getting to know our guest.
Yes.
So we're going to take a few moments to just get to know each other. After we do that, we're going to take some time in our second section to get to know a little bit about the show, like why the Uncommon Success. So we're going to dive into that some. I know you've got some stuff prepared to ask me just to dive into understanding a little more.
All the hard questions.
All the hard questions, diving in to the deep depths of why the Uncommon Success Podcast. And so we'll explore that a little bit. And then in section 3, it's going to be getting to know the format. I think it's important for people who are listening to know what to expect. And so week in, week out, there'll be a format that we follow, and it helps with interaction from our audience, as well as what's going to happen with those guests and what that's going to look like. So we'll talk about the format for a little bit. And then the final section, to wrap it up, we'll talk about how our audience can be more than just listeners, but they can be part of our community and how they join that community and be part of it.
And be in the cool club.
That's right.
Because this is the coolest club to be in.
That's right. Because just listening is great, but it's a whole lot better if you can interact from a comment level to even deeper levels to which we can have some interaction with our community. And then we'll wrap it up, and I'll kind of at the very end let you know what's coming for next week.
And you're going to say who's coming next week, right?
Well, that wasn't the plan. The plan was just to announce the title, but I guess I'll give a little sneak peek of who's going to join us.
So if
right?
you want, have been with us for a few minutes now, so you stay with us so that you can get it at the very end.
That's right. Yeah. So typically we won't.
Don't fast forward though. Don't fast forward.
That's right. We won't make that announcement typically, but if you stick with us to the end of today, after you get to know us a little bit and you're like, these people are crazy, if you'll just stick around to the end, you'll know who our guest is for next week, and you can decide then if you're going to hang out with us for the coming episodes.
Absolutely. So you're going to want to hang out.
It'll be fun. So let's start with section 1, getting to know the host. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a question, and you can kind of bounce that back, and we'll get to know each other off the same question. Let's begin with tell us a little bit about you.
All right.
Brinly. Who is Brinly?
Oh, wow. That is a very deep philosophical thought that might take hours to digest, but we'll give you the Reader's Digest version.
Let me help out a little bit with this one. All right. Give us like your background, career, education,
Absolutely.
family.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. Education. I am graduated from Dallas Baptist University. I'm getting my master's right now from King's University in Master's Practical Theology, which kind of gives you a little bit of insight into what I do. I'm a student pastor. I've been a student pastor for 15 years now. And although I've worn like many different hats in the church, that is my favorite hat. So that's the one I talk about.
Yeah.
Although the other ones are fun, like, plants, and I do plants sometimes. But anyways, we're not going to go there. And then I'm married to my husband, ironically, Andy.
So
a different Andy. I have lots of Andys around.
Andys in your life.
We've been married for 15 years. He's a lot of fun, super academic, he's a pastor as well, so he's super smart.
Now you guys work together,
We
right?
work together.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
So you're all day at work together and then all night at home.
You would think so. Like, we used to both be youth pastors, so we were constantly working together. But now that he's an executive worship pastor, I have no worship skills. I've asked him, like, what part of the team can I play? He's like, Brinly, you need to really work on this thing called pitch before we go to the next level. But no, so his
no singing on the show then, right?
Yeah, no singing. No, I'm kidding. I won't do that. But he just does a different kind of area than I do. So we're not really all day, every day.
But get to work together.
Yes, we get to work together, which is fun. And then I have 2 kids. They are total opposites, full of energy, lots of fun. 7 and 11-year-old, Noe and Gracie. So if you get to know them, they're very wildly different personalities and very big personalities. So our house is very interesting, but also fun. But what about you? Tell us a little bit about your family, your career, your education, all the fun stuff.
Yeah, so I actually spent 20 years in vocational ministry. And then from the past couple of years now, I shift and transition into being an entrepreneur, an investor, and an author. So I started writing books and fell in love with that, and now have produced quite a few different titles. And so children's books as well as entrepreneurship books. And so that's been real fun. We started a publishing company to which we've done that, and now helping other people do that as well. So it's a whole lot of fun. And then we dabble in real estate investing and things like that as well. So that's been our journey, if you will, on the big picture. And then education-wise, along the way, I got my bachelor's degree from LSU in Shreveport, and then my master's degree. I went to seminary as well. Got a master's degree in seminary, And then my doctorate, I'm all but dissertation with a
Yeah.
doctorate in business.
And you're about to get this doctorate done
Oh, at some point. COVID jacked that up for
in
me.
like 2 months.
Oh, no, it'd be longer than that.
And then publish it publish your doctorate, your dissertation.
I got 2/3 of the way through my dissertation, and then COVID jacked up my research. And so now I was like, well, I have to take a break. So I took the break, and then just life got busy, and I filled that gap with something else.
But if you make up your research, how many people are going to be able to know that you made it up?
Well, here's the reality: is the only people who will ever read that research are the only people who will care. And so they'll read
you're
it.
going to publish your dissertation.
I won't publish it like I do a book. It will be published, but you'll have to dig into a library somewhere to find that research.
Yes.
But I'll print you a copy.
Okay.
And
I look forward to this
it'll
copy.
be on the old printers. They're like, and print that sucker out for you. It will not be the greatest thing to read, but it's a research paper. So I'll have to restart that. And it'll take about a year to finish it, and I just haven't got there yet. So at some point, we'll get there.
And then what about, tell us your family?
So then married to my wife, Christy. We've been married for 13 years. We just had that 13-year anniversary back in December, and we have a dog named Max. And we've traveled. My wife is from New Jersey, and we met in seminary in Virginia. So this
that's fun.
southern boy from Louisiana met a girl from New Jersey, and it's been fun at holidays. And even just getting to know each other's cultures, that's been a whole lot of fun.
That would be fun.
It's wild.
That would be fun. And she's so fun. I love it.
So this podcast is about success. And so just to hit on that topic a little bit, what does success mean to you?
Okay. There's a lot of ways that we can define success or different aspects of our life. But I would say the biggest thing to me is freedom. Freedom to be able to make my own financial and time decisions, to be free, to be able to live my life the way that I feel called to live, and to make, my mark on this world. We all want to make a mark and make a difference, but the freedom to do that, because you have people with lots of money, and I mean, not all people, but some people, and they have no freedom with their life. Their decisions aren't their own. Their time isn't their own. They're just stressed all the time. And then you have the other flip side where people have all this freedom with their time, no responsibilities, but they don't have financial freedom. They can't take care of certain things. So I think just this balance of being free and to be able to really pursue the things that you love. So
That's good.
What about you?
For me, I think success is about, because it looks different from person to
Yep.
person, I think it's all about fulfilling your purpose and your passions. And you can do something, and I could do the same thing, and you could be successful at it, even if we both accomplish the same thing. And it's success for you and it's not success for me, because I think it's about fulfilling your purpose.
Yeah.
So I think that's even what we'll get into this some later. That's what drives a lot of the purpose of this podcast, and exploring what success actually does look like, not just for me, but as we get into our audience and discuss this with our guests and through our community as well. So next, let's look at your biggest career success. So successes and failures that you've had in your career.
Okay, success I think looks a little bit different in what I do with student ministry. So it's not really building a company or trying to make financial markers or things like that. But for me, success has been being a part of these kids' stories, seeing kids come in that are shy or maybe super insecure. I love seeing them come out of their shell and being a leader, or speaking on a Wednesday night. We let students preach or do things because we want to see them grow. We want to be a part of their story. And that's just probably my biggest career success, is just being able to be a part of their success and of their growth. And always, like, when you're working with people that are younger, with kids or teenagers, you grow in the process. And that's been a really rewarding thing, is to be able to grow as a leader during that as well. And I know that you have some different avenues that you've been a part of, but, what would you say is your biggest accomplishment?
I think for me, it was, several years ago, discovering what I feel like my purpose is. Like, that was the biggest success. I've done a lot of things. I've had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things, and I think I did a lot of those things well. But I think the biggest success was figuring out what is my purpose. And so years ago, I felt like that purpose was to be a person of influence and resource. And I didn't know what that meant. I was 19 years old when I felt like that's why I'm here. So I spent years trying to flesh that out. What does this mean to be a person of influence? How can I be an influence? So I spent a lot of my time trying to take opportunities and get people to follow me, and all those things. And then of resource, well, I just thought that meant money. And when time passed, now it makes a whole lot more sense to me, even while we're doing this podcast. And so, for me, it was discovering that's probably been the greatest success, is discovering that, because now everything that I do filters through, is this helping me become a person of influence and resource?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, what about as far as your biggest career challenge? What has been
challenge?
Or even just life? We can go life if
Yeah.
not necessarily in your career. If you don't want to out anyone that has been a challenge to you.
Well, on this date, this person at church, no. There's a couple challenges. I think it would be a balance between balancing life, because I can be all in, take on eyes bigger than my stomach type thing in life. Being that balance where I'm not going through this burnout loop, but also just that, I think that feeling of failure, especially in student ministry, there's this pressure of having numbers or having, these different markers, and redefining success as people and not numbers or all of those markers, which those are important markers, but it's just dealing with that feeling of failure or things not going the way that I hoped that they would.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, that biggest career challenge, I think, came in where I felt like I was giving a lot of time and energy toward things that didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I still had to do the job, but it's like I'm pressing, I'm going, I'm doing, and it's a constant grind. And it felt like it wasn't advancing my career down the field at all. And I think that's where, when I realized I'm spending a lot of time spinning these wheels, because I like to have a lot of things. I like to spin a lot of plates, have a lot of things going. And when I realized that, hey, this is a whole lot of stuff that I'm doing but not accomplishing anything, that was a big wake-up call. But that was the biggest challenge, because I like doing a lot of things. And so what I realized about myself in that was that I'm not a finisher. I don't finish things well. So that it was like a gut check for me, that I thought I was really good at doing things. And I realized I don't finish things really well. So that was a real hard thing to swallow for me.
That's a hard thing to do. It was very ironic. We were talking about in the office the book Finished by John Acuff. And I was like, yeah, I have that book, but I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
So.
But, that's a lot of people with books. It's like, have you ever read this book? And they're like, yeah, I started that.
Yeah, it was a good first 10 pages.
It's like people in the gym. Like right now, if you go to the gym, it's January when we're filming this, and it's just slam packed full of people.
They've signed up for their 12-month, they know at the gym, they've got you signed up for the year.
Yes.
Because
year commitment, because they know you're in 12 weeks, you won't even have seen the place. Probably 6 weeks, you won't even have seen the place. All right, so let's a little bit about this podcast. So how does this podcast, would you say, align? How does that align with your purpose? Like what you believe that you're designed for? When I first approached you about, hey, let's sit down together and talk about this, and I know myself and our executive producer Jess Camp got to chat with you about a little about what you feel your purpose is. But how does this podcast align with that purpose? Share that a little bit with our audience.
I love, so my degree is actually in business. I love business. It's always been fascinating. I love marketing. And then I do things like that at our church. I'll do church marketing and different things like that. So I really enjoy it. But I also think that the alignment of that purpose is people. Going back to that kind of that career success is people.
Yeah.
And being able to hear people's stories that come in, that went through the hard things, that accomplished big things, and being able to give that in a podcast to someone and say, hey, you may have gone through this too, or maybe you failed a bunch of times, or maybe you're struggling, but hey, this person did it and you can too. That success doesn't have to be uncommon for you, that you can push through, that you can, you're going to talk about your book later, but you can understand money and unlock money secrets. You can, your book sitting here, Ditch the Career, you can learn how to do things or to be something different than what you are. You aren't stuck. And so I think that the podcast really aligns with me in helping people believe in themselves. That's and good. Seeing their life in a different perspective and what they can do and what they can change. And I know that you have a lot of passion with this too, and that this is your baby. So kind of explain, how this is with your life's purpose.
Yeah, it goes back to that purpose in life of being a person of resource and influence. And the influence piece, I believe I've really figured out. But I think my favorite thing in life is to be a resource to other people. I believe along the way, the success that's happened in my life has not happened because of Andy Coates. It's happened because I've had people who believed in me, who gave me opportunity that I didn't deserve, or shared information, insight, wisdom with me that would have taken me years to figure out on my own. And because of their investment into me being a resource in my life, it's helped me to be able to succeed at things. The little bit of success I do have is because of other people's investment. And so for me, I believe that purpose of being a resource isn't just a financial resource to people, but being a resource of information, of insight, and connecting people. Because the reality is, you and I, we have our little bit of success we've had in life, but the aim of this is much bigger, to connect people to those who've walked through different journeys of success.
Yeah, and different stories are going to resonate with different people.
For sure. So what would you say when it comes to this podcast, what are you looking forward to the most? Kind of your expectation, what you hope to get out of this?
I'm looking forward to growing, because I believe that all these speakers and these guest podcast people what would you call a guest podcaster? What's the title?
They're our guests.
They're our guests. Yeah. It's not like a podcast.
A podcast guest.
Okay. Okay. We've got to find a podcasty. Okay. Anyways, we'll brainstorm the word for that.
Create our own term.
Yes, we're gonna have a whole new language. But I'm excited to hear their stories. I'm excited to learn from them, because I'm still growing. I'm still wanting to know a lot of the questions that we're asking. I'm asking because I genuinely want to know and grow. And I'm looking forward to sitting down with them and being able to apply some of those things into my life so that I can use them and have some uncommon success as well, and the pieces that they have. And I know you have a lot of things you're looking forward to this as well, but what's the biggest thing you're excited about?
So as excited as I am as having those guests, whatever we call them, on the show, that's exciting to me. But I think the thing I'm excited about the most is to see the life change that takes place into our community, the people who are listening, that are joining us in the journey. I look forward to hearing their stories as well, not just the stories of the people who bring on the show, but the stories of the people who are listening, and it impacts their life. That's what I'm excited about. And we'll talk later on at the end about how to join in that community so that we can hear those stories.
In the cool club.
In the cool club. In Brinly and Andy's Cool Kids Club. So let's dive into this next part here. So we kind of get to know us a little bit here, but now we'll take a little bit of time to just get to know.
We're going to get to know the show. We're going to be best friends with the show.
That's right.
All right. Well, go ahead. This is again your baby. There's so much purpose and meaning behind and intentionality behind what you're doing. So why the Uncommon Success podcast?
Yeah, so when I was first kind of thinking through, there's all kinds of podcasts, I believe, that we could have done. Titles we could have called this. I knew that I wanted to explore success, the topic of success, because I believe that hits a very broad audience.
Yeah.
In that everyone can learn something when it comes to success. But I wanted to dial that in a little bit deeper and to find not just stories that you could hear from all different angles of people and talk about but like I wanted to dive into what's real life and real world for people. And so the uncommon piece actually comes from something where I thought it's a very common place to see other people have success, but it feels very uncommon in our own lives.
Yeah. And unattainable. Like,
So my hope
agreed.
was that the podcast would be what feels uncommon in my own life after listening to the stories and us discussing these topics, it becomes real attainable and real achievable to those who are joining in. So that was kind of the mindset behind the Uncommon Success podcast. And I believe that our own journeys ourselves, we're just uncommon people,
Yeah.
And the reality is we all have our little different quirks about us, but success, it's hard to find. And a lot of people, they miss it because I believe they don't actually discover their purpose. And so
Yeah. What's
that
right
was
in
kind
front
of
of them.
that was the drive behind that title.
That's so good. And so the tagline I'm going to read real dramatically because it makes it more fun.
Okay, go
Real
for it.
stories, real people, real success. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Is that good? Okay. I make real dramatic like. But so this tagline has a very deep meaning for you, real meaning. So how would you explain that to someone listening? Like, why that tagline?
Yeah, so I'll break it down into three parts: the real stories, the real people, and then the real success. The real stories being it would have been super easy for us to say, okay, in the past, 500 years, we could go back and find stories of people who they found success. Even just taking the past several hundred years of our own American history, you
Yeah.
could find stories of people and like this general who conquered this thing or this athlete who did this thing. And that'd be real easy to find those stories. But what I've discovered is when it's somebody who's so distant, even if that distance is just in time, if it was a story of somebody from 5 years ago who found success, it's like, well, that sounds great, but it feels more like it's a fairy tale or something you just read in a book. It's fiction to most people.
Exceptional.
So what I wanted was to find people that you hear their voice, they're sharing that story, and it's real people, not just some billionaire somewhere in time, but a real story. And that real story translating into these are real people who are going to sit down with us.
Yeah.
Because the other thing would have been, okay, these are people who we could jump on a Zoom call with and things like that. But we wanted to bring them into the studio with us and sit down and eye to eye and kneecap to kneecap and just have those discussions. So it's their real story. They're real people who are sitting down with us, and it's the real success. Like you get to see it as they tell the story and discover what I believe will be inspirational and challenging things that can help us in our own journey as well. So that was kind of the drive behind that tagline, and it just sounded good because I knew when you read it, it would just seem pretty epic.
Real dramatic, real stories, real people, real success.
Yeah.
But with all that, you've said that for years you've wanted to be a person of resource, and you've gone through this journey. So why now and not a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 40 years ago? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm making you sound really old, but why now?
40 would have been tough because I wouldn't have been, I'd been, under 1 year old at that point. So that'd been a little bit challenging to do. But I don't think I was ready for what we're walking through now at any other season of life. It would have been fun. I mean, for years I've been like, I got to do a podcast just because I love this kind of stuff. But I needed to walk through my own journey of getting to the place where I'm at right now in order to be ready for the podcast that's starting now. So it's a personal thing. It's not that the timing just worked out best and then I had the time. I'm as busy as I've ever been, but I'm writing a whole lot of books and stuff. So like, it's not that I just have more time. It's that the timing, it meant the most for this season to start it. And I had to do it. It's like, now is the time.
I think now is the time.
And I couldn't wait because it would have made probably more sense to, hey, let's bump this thing back and plan for a year for this. And instead we spent the past few months really diving in and lining out the year with our topics and starting to line out our guests and it's all just come together. So it's confirmation that right now was the right time.
Right now. And you've done all this preparation, all this anticipation. So what are you hoping is the end goal? What are you hoping this show is going to do?
I hope it builds a community that's bigger than just the show. That's what I really hope. I hope that it's, it's a group of people who can come together and help each other out in their journeys. I hope that people network through this podcast and can help each other in their own success stories. And I hope that we can be interactive in helping those people as well, that it's not just information they listen to. People don't need any more just content.
Yeah.
We're in content overload mode right now.
So much out there.
There's thousands of podcasts you could listen to. So
This is better. Listen to this one.
this is the one you want to listen to because I believe it's deeper. It's content with community.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what brings transformation. So that's what I hope for, is that it's great content, which knowing what we got coming, it's going to be some great content, but then it's also going to be some great community.
Yeah.
And that's where we'll see the transformation take place. So that's what I'm hopeful for.
It's going to be great. But before we dive into the podcast format, I want to hear a little bit more about your publishing company and your books for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm excited to talk about our publishing company. This is Ridgeline Publishing. That's our company that we started, the publishing company that we've published our own books through. In fact, we just released one this week, the most recent book that I'm really excited about. It's called Unlocking Money Secrets, What They Didn't Teach You in School. And so there's a lot of people who were taught a lot of garbage or nothing at all when it comes to how to deal with money. And so we just published that one. But Ridgeline Publishing, it's where imagination meets innovation. At Ridgeline Publishing, we're not just telling stories, we're shaping futures. Dive into enchanting children's books that ignite young minds, or explore the world of entrepreneurship with our insightful business books. Plus, our author visits to schools, businesses, or organizations add a personal touch, connecting you directly to the author. But that's not all. Are you an aspiring author with a story to tell? Maybe you've been trying to publish your book for a long time, but you just need that extra support and accountability to make it a reality. Our expert publishing consultation services guide you through the journey of bringing your words to life. From Amazon Publishing Services to captivating cover designs, meticulous editing, and stunning illustrations, we've got it covered. We even offer author coaching services to help you have the extra level of guidance and accountability. Imagine the thrill of having your book in the hands of eager readers. Imagine that happening this year. That if you could finish a book that you've wanted to write and you could have it in people's hands this year, how powerful would that be? Ridgeline Publishing makes that dream a reality. Whether you're a dreamer or a doer, Ridgeline Publishing is your partner in literary success. Let's embark on a journey where storytelling meets entrepreneurship. Visit ridgelinepublishing.com for a world of words waiting to be explored. Ridgeline Publishing, where every page turns into possibilities.
I love it. And so if I want to write a book, you'll write the book for me so that it sounds really good, and I can put my name on it.
I don't think you listened to anything I went through that whole read about this publishing company. What you heard was, I'm going to write this book for you.
That's what I heard. You gonna write this book for me? I'm gonna put my name on it. Gonna be Amazon.
There are resources out there that will help you write a book if you want to write a book. What we could offer to you is to help coach you through it, your idea, your plan. But at the end of the day, you got to write the book. So,
But it could just be like blank pages too.
Sure. I mean, if you want to publish a book that's just
a cover with like
a fancy cover,
write your own story, but like
and it's just blank.
But
on the
it's got
inside.
like, I'm the author of that quote. Write your own story.
Okay.
So, anyways,
that's definitely an idea.
Yeah.
I don't know how great of an idea it is, but
it is an idea.
Hey, look, if you want that to happen, we'd be happy to sit down and talk with you to help make that dream become a reality.
Get all of this out there onto the pages.
I think what you just admitted was that whatever's happening up there in your mind,
not a lot going on.
You want that to be blank pages inside of a book. That's funny. Well, let's jump into the next section here of getting to know the format. If you're going to take the time to listen to us over the next several months to come, we've already got the entire year laid out. So if you're going to sit down and join us on this journey, we encourage you to join us for at least the next year as we take the next 52 weeks and dive into success. You'll be in success overload by the end of this, and hopefully join into the community as well. But I want to talk about the format to let everyone know kind of what to expect when they do sit down and listen. That for me, when I sit down and listen to a podcast, I like to know what I'm getting myself into. Yeah. Is this going to be a a long podcast? Is it a short podcast? Is this going to be me listening to one person talk for the next 6 hours
Yes.
like this? Or is it going to be dialogue with other people? So just to give a little taste about the format. So let's jump into that a little bit.
All right, let's go.
So the first part here is that each week we're going to explore a topic about success. So we've picked 52 different topics over the next year that we're going to explore those topics. And we believe that it's a topic that everyone who's listening will be able to learn from.
Everybody.
So it's a topic that we're not going to dive into it deep on the podcast, because we're going to, which I'll talk about in a second. We're going to be talking with our guests around those topics, but it will provide an opportunity. We'll have some additional content that'll be available where we explore those topics in depth. But in general, we're going to take that topic, we're going to discuss that topic, and just kind of some real life, real world application to what it means.
Yeah.
And what can I do with it?
And we're going to put the guest on the spot.
That's right.
They're going to tell us everything. When we leave, we're going to expect to be an expert.
That's right. You that guest will share, and if it doesn't work out, that's their fault. It's not our
Exactly.
fault, right?
We'll give you their email, their personal number.
Yeah, their address, whatever you need to not blame us.
Ain't nobody going to come on this podcast now.
Yeah. But seriously, though, we're going to just take those topics and dive into them and just kind of see what happens. Get into discussion. We hope it's those type of discussions that you're sitting down with people and you're like, man, that was just very helpful.
Yeah.
So that's the aim, is just to be a helpful discussion that we have with our guests, that our audience, hopefully you'll be, either whether you're driving, running, or on the treadmill, on a bike, or whatever, you're like, man, I wish I could jump in.
Yeah. Or sitting on the couch eating Cheetos with YouTube casting on the screen.
Yeah. However you're consuming the content, you want to jump into the discussion. That's the hope that we have there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to review comments from either our podcast, however you're listening to it, Apple Podcast, Spotify, however you're listening, for you to leave comments there, or through our YouTube channel, which that's where I would highly recommend people, if they really want to dive into comments, because if you're going to leave a comment, at least look at us, on the screen.
Yeah, well, YouTube, sometimes the comments are more entertaining than the podcast itself.
That's true.
I didn't even know you could leave comments on an Apple podcast, so I'll figure that out, how to read those. And
so however you can sit, if you can't, you're like, I don't know how to send this to you, you can definitely do it through YouTube, that you can make a comment, reach out to us, and we'd be happy. Or through our social medias, you can reach out to us and interact that way and leave comments. Mm-hmm. And here's the great thing, all right? Each week, Brinly is the one who's going to have to listen to these comments, read these comments, filter out the comments, and then she's going to bring some of those comments to the table the next week, and we're going to discuss some of them.
Y'all better not talk bad about me. Y'all can say all you want about Andy, but y'all better not talk bad about me.
And if you do, she probably won't even put it on the podcast. But I'm sure she'll find whatever comment she can about me to put on here.
But I do guarantee 100% that whatever comment you leave, Andy will have the perfect answer for you. No. All the pressure.
But the hope is that if you have a question about something we said, or a comment about something we said, that you'll be able to make a comment, and then we're going to review those. Or if we dove into something you disagree with and you just want to add a different point to that, or a counterpoint to what we've said, feel free to share that, and it may make it onto the podcast with us. Or if you have questions, you can ask those questions, and we'll interact over those the next week. And then we'll have a guest on, as I mentioned before. We'll have a guest every week. And now these guests, they're not necessarily going to be the experts in the field of whatever the topic is we're discussing. We just, as we've talked through our guest, we share with the different episodes and what it's going to look like. Some of them have kind of picked which ones fit best to their story, because ultimately we want to hear their story and how it syncs up to our topic. So it doesn't mean they're an expert in the topic, but that they've walked through something and they found success, and how that intertwines with the discussion around that topic. So some cases, though, we've got some experts on the topic that we're bringing in. So it'll be a fun time to listen. So those guests will come. So don't be too hard. When you leave the comments, know that our guests have taken the time to be with us, to spend time sharing their story. So if you're going to hammer on somebody, hammer on Brinly first.
Oh, man.
And then, if you have any hammering left over and you got to put it on me, that's fine. but just be kind to our guests as they give.
We want to have guests.
Yes. But if you do have questions that they say, they won't be with us the next week to discuss them.
So we can give you their number. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we will not give their number. If you're looking to be a guest on here, don't worry, we will not give out your cell phone number. But that interaction that we'll have with them, they won't be there the next week to discuss what they said. We'd be happy to try to dialogue that the next week. But
yeah, and we may could reply to your comment with something that they said as well.
correct.
So.
Yep. And then we also know that we want to value your time and to know what you're getting into. This will be a long format podcast, so it'll be 60 to 75 minutes. We're shooting for that 75-minute mark and hope to not go over it too often, but it will be more than an hour, and then probably somewhere between that hour to an hour and 15 minutes, because we're going to take the time to review the comments. We'll take the time to interview and discuss with our guests and discuss the topic. So that'll easily take up our time there with them. So shoot for about 75 minutes each week, so you know that, hey, if you're going to go for a long bike ride or a long run, or if you want to watch this in the evening, then that'd be a great time to set aside. And we're going to be doing that on Thursdays.
A 75-minute bike ride. Oh, my gosh. Some of you are committed.
A bike ride over a 75-minute run, that's even more commitment, you know? But some people I know listen to podcasts in the car when they're driving. So maybe for you, you have a 20-minute, 30-minute drive to work.
I mean, for me, a 75-minute bike ride is nothing. I do that. Never.
Do you own a bike?
I have a spin bike now.
So it doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't go anywhere.
That's fun. But we'll be doing these on Thursday, so we'll drop an episode on Thursday. So however you're listening to this, whether it's through YouTube, Apple, Spotify, any of those other platforms with podcasts where it's available, you want to set those notifications on, turn them on, so that it'll notify you just in case you forget. And if you're the type of person that does forget, set an alarm, and it just says the Uncommon Success Podcast. That way, every Thursday when it drops, you'll be able to
set an alarm on your phone, an automated email, automated Google calendar. Go ahead and schedule it in your calendar for when you're going to listen to it.
There you go. Yeah.
Alexa. I have to actually do these things so that I remember what's going on.
So
in my
you can
life.
remember to make how to make it through life. Is
Exactly.
This is what I'm listening to. This. Hey, if that whatever works for you, just know on Thursdays it's coming. You may not listen till Saturday when you're on that long run or bike ride or walk or whatever it might be, working in the garden. Or listening to us talk.
Sitting on the couch eating Cheetos.
Or sitting on the couch.
Eileen. No,
look, if that is you, if you're going to sit on the couch and listen to Cheetos, then we're going to help you find something to do with that time over the next year together. But it's going to be fun. I think it's a great format, and I think it'll work well, especially having the guests be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just kind of a little bit of a recap. First, I just want to say definitely thanks to our sponsor, Brinly Printed Apparel. If you do have any needs there when it comes to wearing quality, they do a great job. So reach out to them, belane.com, BEALANE.com, and they'll be glad to help you. And if you need help with writing that book, and you're interested in starting that book, reach out to us, ridgelinepublishing.com, and we'd love to help you get started with that. Before we wrap things up here, one final piece that promised at the very beginning was what? Do you remember?
Are you going to tell us how to join the community?
That's it. That's
okay.
it. Because that's what matters.
Or are you going to tell us who the speaker for next week is?
I thought you'd forget about that piece. Well, let's talk about community first, and maybe you'll forget during this time.
The cool club. I won't let that go. Come be a cool kid.
Be a cool kid. This is how you can be part of what we're doing and engage. We talk about leaving the comments, that's a part of it, but when it comes to our content, we have that limited 75 minutes. It's very concentrated. We're hitting that kind of at a broad stroke that can reach a wide range of people. And the focus will be on the story of our guest. But we want to dive deeper into those topics. And so we're providing an opportunity that if you want to join us in a deeper level, what we're calling our inner circle, you can become part of our Patreon. Join our Patreon, and there we'll have some behind-the-scene footage of stuff, some topics we dive into deeper. Our executive producer and technical director, they're going to kind of pick some topics for us around the episode that we'll dive into. It'll be a fun place to interact at a deeper level of community. So if you're looking to really engage with us, that's the best place to do it. The comments are great. We'll be interacting in the comments. But if you really want to dive in and have the interaction with us, the best place to do that will be on Patreon. So become part of that inner circle. with us. You'll get that exclusive content and discussions from us and our guests. We'll ask our guests a few questions just designed.
That's exciting. I don't think I've ever been invited to an inner circle before.
Yeah, well, you have the opportunity. Here's the great thing. You can do that for $7 a month. $7 a month, you can be join that Patreon. You can do that by going to patreon.com/the Uncommon Success Podcast and join today.
For the cost of a cup of coffee from Starbucks.
A cup of coffee. It's crazy that a cup of coffee is $7.
So just skip your Starbucks one day.
Yeah.
And join the Cool Club.
That's it. And it'll be a great resource for you.
It will be. Also, there's lots of ways to be a part of our community and to join. We've talked about comments. We talked about all the fun stuff. So listen to us on Apple or Spotify. Those are great platforms to check us out on. You can also, again, watch us and our smiling faces.
Always smiling, Brinly.
Yes, smiling faces on our YouTube channel. You can see all of our funny faces and all the fun stuff. And then, go on our Facebook, go on our Instagram, go on our TikTok. You guys can leave all kinds of comments. We want to hear your feedback. We want to hear what stuck out to you, because I don't know about you. I can listen to a 60, 75-minute podcast or anything and totally forget, but just a few things of what I remember, because there's a few takeaways. So when everyone comments and everyone puts their takeaway, then all of a sudden we're able to pull the nuggets out of each and every podcast. So it makes it better. You make it better by being a part. Make sure that you share, subscribe, leave great reviews. We don't accept bad reviews. No, I'm kidding. I mean, we can't control it, but please leave good ones, Mom. Leave good comments, Mom.
Reviews are very helpful. When I'm listening to a podcast, I want to, I'm going to check out a review before I do it.
Yeah.
Really, that's with anything, not just a podcast, but even if I'm going to, go to a YouTube channel, I want to see reviews.
Yeah.
And so if you leave us a review, that's helpful for not just us. It's really not about us with the review. It's helpful for other people to know what they're getting themselves into. So leave some great reviews. That'll be helpful for other guests to know they can join and be part of this community as well. So yes, and maybe if you leave a comment on your Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, those won't be our primary place we pull comments from. But if you leave something that's just really eye-catching and just catches Brinley's attention, you never know. It may make the show.
Well, yeah, honestly, I think sometimes I'll see a post and I'm reading the comments, because that is the most entertaining.
Yeah.
Then especially
even more than the content.
When they start getting salty. No, please. That is the most entertaining comments.
That's funny. And then finally, the best way to be part of this community is to join us constantly, week in, week out. Catch our latest episode on those Thursdays. That's probably the best way to stay connected to this community, is to be consistent. We know consistency matters when it comes to community, or else if you're just kind of in and out, it's hard to actually find that. And so it is great content. So this may be a great one-off episode you share with somebody, and that's great. But it's when you add the piece of community that I believe transformation takes place. So if you want to see the transformation, check in week in, week out with us. Join us on those Thursdays for the latest episode, and then jump into the comments and social media and all that stuff and get the interaction there as well. And speaking of next week, our topic for next week is the power of vision.
Love it.
The power of vision. So that's going to be great. So the first, I believe that's where it starts.
Yeah.
When it comes to success, it's all about having a strong vision. So it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great. But you did not include, you told everybody you would.
You told everybody I was
be here
going to.
with us next week.
You forced my hand. You forced me into making this commitment to tell everybody. But
wait, hold on, drumroll.
There you go. Nice little drum roll happening. Our guest next week is Chad McDowell. He is the head of school at Calvary Baptist Academy. He's also been an athletic director and a coach on the collegiate and high school level. Was successful as an athlete himself, and in fact, they just finished at Calvary winning the state championship football game.
That's so cool.
Hopefully he's got his voice back. It's been about a month since they won that. He's full of energy, great guy, but the success they've seen both in academics, athletics, and just culture has come from the top down, and it's having a strong vision. And so he'll be here next week to talk about that some with us. So we'll be excited to have him.
And if you listen to him and you're a coach, you will be a state champion too.
No, we're not guaranteeing that, but I think whatever he brings insight-wise could be helpful. And if any guarantees that Brinley makes on this podcast, you have to hold her personally responsible for. Not
Which I am under the umbrella of the Uncommon Success podcast.
So we don't believe in
which
umbrellas here. So this is all individually on Brinly.
Welcome to the Uncommon Success podcast. Disclaimer: anything Brinly says, we are not liable for. You cannot sue us for. You cannot hold us accountable to. Too bad.
We are not responsible for anything that Brinly says on this show. But we are excited about next week. And so tune in next Thursday as we jump into the power of vision.
Yep, looking forward to it. We'll see you next week.
All right. Have a great week. See ya. Thanks for being part of the Uncommon Success podcast. Your commitment to growth fuels our passion. Special thanks to our executive producer, Jess Camp, and our technical director, Stephen Posey, for helping make this episode happen. Join us next week as we continue the journey towards uncommon success. Have a great week.